Let me first of all go to Frank Leboeuf, because he actually has played in Qatar. He knows what it's like to play in these temperatures. What are those conditions like to be a professional athlete in, Frank?
The thing is, if you go overall during the season, it's true that in September, October, it's quite a nightmare, and it's like 100, 110, you know, when you play. So you have to get used to it. And I remember, you know, doing my first training session with a bag of ice, and I put it in my head because it was even 9 p.m., but I couldn't run anymore. But in October and November, and especially in December, the weather is quite nice. Well, yeah, it's hot, but it's not like it is in France, like it is in Spain, the end of spring and the beginning and during the summer. I remember playing in Strasbourg when we were promoted. It was like 35 degrees, which is for Craig like 90 degrees, 92, 1 degrees, to make sure you understand what I'm talking. And that's okay. That's okay. You can play with that. I played 2 years in Qatar. And you don't need air conditioning for the fans and, of course, for the players when you play in October, November, December. For sure, you don't need that because it's like summertime in south of Europe. And that's fine. Yeah, it's hot, but it's not that hot. It's quite okay to run like that, and it's possible. We had World Cups in '98 in France. We played in Lyon. I think it was 3 p.m. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. It was so hot. It was under the sun, and it was more than 91 degrees, Craig, than it is in Qatar. So that's going to be fine, you know. And I don't know. I complained to FIFA 2 months ago. I said, why don't you explain to the world that playing under the condition in November and December doesn't need air conditioning? Because it hasn't been said by FIFA or by Qatar. It's why they postponed the World Cup. So it's hot, but it's hot like summer again in south of Europe.
France '98, those conditions, what were they like?
For the Brazilians, they were a nightmare. For us Scots, it was easy. Easy. I know, actually, the conditions in France were pretty perfect. You know, hot, but not crazy hot, as long as you were hydrating, and there was always drinks at the side of the pitch and all that sort of rigmarole. So not a problem. Maybe the heat's, I don't know, maybe it's a drier heat in the Middle East. I don't know at that time of year. I certainly know that this tournament could never, ever have been played. Well, it could have been, but it would have been a health disaster for the players had they even tried to go ahead in May and June, because having been there to the Middle East at that time of year, it's difficult enough to walk out a hotel. So that was all sort of pie in the sky, and trust me, we would have had fatalities, I think, playing in heat of up to 115 degrees. I think these conditions, it seems on the face of it, are going to be not too bad at this time of year, so that's acceptable. There might be the odd case where it gets a little hotter, and I think he said today was a high of 92, which seems hot. Don't laugh, 30 how many Celsius. So I think that's going to be fine as long as the players are hydrating, yeah, for sure.
What about Mexico, Stevie, though? That was probably a whole new ball game.
Well, it was impossible, you know, and actually what it did was that I think the tournament suffered, because you can only play in little fits and starts when it's that hot. You know, we were playing at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow. In
Mexico. I mean, a bunch of ginger-haired, pale-faced Scotsmen running around at 2 in the afternoon in Mexico, seriously. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
What factor did you wear?
I was factor 1,000, and I still got burnt to a cinder. I mean, and you couldn't play football. That's the bottom line. You couldn't run.
There was somebody running behind him with a can spraying him as he was running. I mean,
what does it actually feel like? Does it feel that everything's slower? Does it feel that you're thirsty? What does it feel like?
It feels as though...
Have you never been in the heat before?
No.
Hold on.
What happened?
You lived in Miami. What are you asking about heat for?
I've never played a World Cup game in the heat before as a professional athlete.
Have you played one in the cold?
What happens is when I say you play in fits and starts, so you actually try and run properly, but the problem is it takes you so long to recover after you've run because of the heat and because there's no air. There's no air to breathe. So it's just crazy. And so the one thing we can tell you is we're going to see some good football because the conditions are going to be what they are. They're going to be 80, which is fantastic. We'll see some real football, not like Not like we did
What was
in
the
86.
temperature? Does anybody know what the temperature was in Mexico in 1986?
In Fahrenheit and Celsius.
June the 17th. Was it that hot, was it?
You have some games at night, and at night it will be like 23, which is like 73 Fahrenheit. So it's don't laugh, okay? But it's completely normal. It's a normal season to play football, and it's great. Yeah, Mexico was a nightmare. I remember Italy in '90. That was a nightmare as well. Again, France in '98 when you play against Paraguay in the last 16 in Lens, which is north of France. That was hot. That was crazy hot, and it was almost unbearable for the player. It was hot. You had out of breath very quickly. If you're English, you're getting red very quickly as well. So it's really a nightmare.
Can we just do the rest of this summer? Winter. I mean, summer is a bleeding summer World Cup. Can we do the rest of this World Cup in Fahrenheit, please? I don't want a Fahrenheit. All right, we'll do a daily Fahrenheit Celsius. There you go.
I am always having to ask what the other one is. I'm always confused from.
We'll just stick to one. Stick to one.
Celsius, please.
Fahrenheit. 70.
I want to talk to you guys though about playing so quickly and having the little break that they have had to be going into a tournament like this right in the middle of a season. How do you think that's going to affect them?
I don't know. It's a hard one. I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. I'm too busy talking about temperatures.
If somebody had said to you, right, it's up to you, you would absolutely have played now than wait till the end of a full season and play.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, because your legs, you're knackered.
Right.
You're shattered. I remember before we went to Mexico, playing in the FA Cup final, and after the game, somebody said to me, "Oh, enjoy your break in Mexico," and I was like, "Oh no," because my legs had gone. I was knackered, and then I had to go to a World Cup. I mean, absolutely, you would have it now.
So that's the same as him, because the '98 when we went, I played every game. I don't think I missed a game at Celtic that year, and so I played every game, Cup, European, League, and like him, your legs are a little weary. And you do get a little break, but guess what? We travel to the US, you end up travelling. You train it almost every day with the national team. Oh, and they arrange friendlies, you know, in heat, in freaking Washington in May. I'll give you hot.
Can't
Washington
breathe.
in May. I've never
Can't
known
breathe.
humidity like it.
Yeah.
And so, by the time the World Cup comes around, you're off the back of a whole season. Clearly, this is not an ideal scenario, but it's like having a week's break for these players in between having 3 or 4 league games. They're fit, most of them are fit, some are carrying a little knocks, they're up to speed, they're sharp, they haven't had a whole season.
Fatigue shouldn't be a problem.
I think when they come back from it, maybe that's a different scenario, although I don't really think it will be, to be honest, because a lot of them will get a rest.
Craig, it's going to be a problem for European players, like in France, where normally have a break in winter, where they don't have that in the Premier League or in the Scottish League. So it's going to be strange for them to carry on playing, you know, while it's normally they have that break. But I agree with the guy. They're going to be fitter now that they're going to be when you are at the end of the season, because at the end of the day, yes, you have the break, you know, that you normally get, but you don't have the time to recover and prepare yourself. It happened in 2002, or most teams been kicked out because they play so many games, and the World Cup starting 15 days before it normally starts. So that's what it is. It's better to play a competition like that in the middle of the season where you are completely fit and you're ready to go for it and don't have a break. In fact, like that you don't re-prepare, because it doesn't help you out.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.